Thanks for all the applause. It's okay. No, really. All right. Woo! He really was good, wasn't he? All right. As you may know, I'm Michael Taft, and we're going to meditate. We're going to do an hour of guided meditation, and hopefully you are capable of kind of sitting still and being relatively quiet for an hour. And then after that, I'll do some talking, then you'll do some talking, then we'll do a little more meditation. Okay? So that's it. That's the setup. As usual, I'd like to begin with a little stretching. So, your body is your body, your body, stretch it however you want, but I'll just recommend that we start out kind of doing one of these. See, Michael was already doing it back there. He knows the drill. And instead of kind of locking your breath there, just keep breathing. Feels good to breathe with your lungs wide open like that. And then coming off down to one side, open the side ribs and breathe there. And open up even more. And then coming over the other way. And opening up. Kind of, you can do it like the triangle way if you want. And then coming back to center, sort of pausing for a moment, seeing if your back still works. And then going forward. If you're in the chair, you can just go almost straight down. And then mildly going side to side here. This feels so good, I could just do this for the whole hour. Bring the back of the pelvis like that. But now, we've got to continue. And then beginning with some hand circles and some wrist circles and some elbow circles and some shoulder circles, lots of circles. You can do, opposite circles, any kind of circles you want that feel good. And then just freak out however you want. You don't have to freak out like me, you can do it whatever way you want. I like to do a twist, and then another twist. And then another big favorite is lion's pose, so. Very good. I think we caught some lions by surprise though, so let's try it again. Very good. Feel how different that makes you feel. That's great. It's an awesome exercise. Let's do a seed syllable tonight. Just a little group sound making. I'm a fan of the seed syllable. So, how many people here have at least heard of Avalokiteshvara, aka Chenrezig? Raise your hand. What's that? I can't speak the tones right. We could say aka Canon, right? Very good. Well, what's interesting is that, Avalokiteshvara is a bodhisattva, a celestial bodhisattva, but is actually also an emanation of a very high-level Buddha. The high-level Buddha is Amitabha, right? Amitabha means limitless light, the Buddha of limitless light. And so they share a seed syllable, which is Hri, or Hri. Hri. You can just say H-R-E-E if you want. I really like that seed syllable. It's the seed syllable of limitless wisdom and compassion. So we're just going to Hri for a while and just, you don't need a brain to do this, right? Amoebas in the ocean could just say Hri. And the point is to just feel that the energy coming through that seed syllable and just let yourself both emanate that sense of that compassionate energy, but also feel it coming back in from all directions. So just feel the deliciousness of that very bright, clear, kind energy. Hri. Really, in the original Sanskrit, it has a little puff of air at the end. It's Hri. So, Hri. And you can just feel the wisdom and compassion energy of that sound. From there, let's do a little bit of pranayama. If you want to, you can do just simple ujjayi breath. Or if you're into alternate nostril breathing, let's do a bit of that. If you don't know how to do alternate nostril breathing, you make your right hand like this, with the middle fingers together, and then close your right nostril with your right thumb. Breathe in through, keeping your body straight, your head up. Breathe in through the left nostril. Nice big breath. Close that left nostril. Breathe out the right. Breathe in the right. Close that right nostril with your thumb. Breathe out the left. So you breathe in one side and out the other. If you want to, you can keep using the seed syllable Hri as kind of a focus object. I would, in this case, feel that in your heart area. And just allow this alternate nostril breathing, which we're going to do for a few minutes, to both raise your energy but balance your energy. This is bi-hemispheric stimulation. And so little by little, you'll notice your energy getting more, notice your brain, in fact, your mind feeling more balanced, more not only relaxed and energized, but also balanced. So just silently to yourself, on the in-breath you can be saying Hri, and on the out-breath Hri, right? So we can begin our practice on a left nostril in-breath. So wait till you come around to a left nostril out-breath, and then end the pranayama. Just notice how you feel. Very, again, energizing and yet balancing at the same time. Okay, good. From here, if your eyes are open, you can just notice the space in front and just notice that that space in front is not separate from the space behind. Or we could say the space in front is not separate from the space within. And in that space, that wide open, clear space, just notice the breath wave rising and falling. Don't give too much attention to it. This isn't like a hard focus exercise. This is just the mildest, easiest, most relaxed, sitting as natural openness, and just using the breath as like a little tiny bit of a home base. And let's just do this together for a while, okay? The big thing here is you don't need any thoughts at all to do this. So you just set the thinking mind aside. It gets to do what it wants. You're not fighting it. You're not trying to control it. You're not trying to shut it down. You're just not engaging with it. It's superfluous right now. And instead you're just being spacious, open awareness, mildly noticing this rising and falling of the breath wave. So let's do that together. Of course, each time, if you find yourself getting involved with the thought again, just very gently let it go. Come back to just being present. Natural, open presence. Nothing hard about it. Doing the seed syllable chanting and the nostril pranayama helps to soothe and de-stickify our connection to thinking. And so it makes it a little easier to just set that down and be present right here, right now in our open awareness. If it's hard for you to sit without much of a focus object, then feel free to bring in the free back and synchronize it with your breathing and start to use that to be a little bit more of a direct object to focus on. But in general, what we want to do is just be able to rest in open awareness, really without any object at all, but here with just the lightest touch of a focus object on the breath. Very minor. Just allowing yourself to come more and more into your natural, open presence. What's left when we're not engaged in the virtual world of thinking is just this beautiful, relaxed openness. That is unconditioned. We're not making it happen. We're just stopping interfering with it. Again, no need to be involved with any thinking at all. And if you are, just relax and let that just drop away and come back to simple, open presence. And as we sit outside the machinery of thought, just notice how more and more of that natural ease, natural openness, uncontrived presence just starts flowing into our being. It's always there, but we're just usually busy with other things. Good. Now, feel free to continue with this, doing it just the way we've been doing it. Or, if you want something a little bit more challenging, then instead of paying a little bit of attention to the breath wave coming and going, let go of that object and instead pay a little bit of attention to the mind waves coming and going. So we're no longer tuned into the breathing process, but here we're tuned into the thought activity process. Notice that's different than being engaged in thinking. We don't really care about the content at all, we're just noticing the thought activity. Like watching a fountain or some other natural activity. The thought waves are just propagating through the mind and we're just noticing that. It's really very similar to what we've been doing with the mind the breath wave. But it is a little different because it's not necessarily rhythmic. It can be much more random or staccato or popcorn-like rather than rhythmic waves. So it's different in that regard. Another one is we can much more easily get involved in the thoughts. That's why it's a little more challenging. So if it's too challenging, then just come back to your breath. But with this, you're just kind of noticing the coming and going of thought activity without being engaged in it at all. It's just a natural occurrence. Thoughts happen. They don't have to mean anything. They don't have to be important. They're just thoughts. And so we notice, in a way of speaking, the thinker thinking. It's just doing its thing. Again, 97% of our awareness is just open and natural and at ease. And we're just paying just a little bit of attention to this thought activity. So let's do this together for a little while. Again, notice if you're caught up in the thinking, and just let that go and come back to just being this kind of spacious awakeness that we naturally are. And we're just awake to the thoughts moving through, the thought activity moving through awareness without really engaging it. It's just thought activity. Good. Now just to add a little wrinkle here, still observing the thought activity a little bit. With each wave of thought that arises, don't focus on the thought activity, focus on to whom it arises. Who or what is it that's noticing the thought activity? It's not a mental question, it's not something to think about, it's something to notice. Who is the thinker of the thoughts? Just look, find that thinker. And if a word arises like, well, it's me, Okay, find me. And if you do find that, just rest there. Being the me. Good. Now, you can continue working with thoughts in that way. Many people find that very powerful, especially just the sitting and noticing thought activity. You can do it for a long time. But if you'd like something even more challenging, then just let go of any object at all. There's no focus object, not the breath, not the thinking, not anything. And we just sit in simple presence, being our natural self, which is just open awakeness. but now with no intentionality of any kind, just sitting. And if you find yourself beginning to do something that will have this quality of like kind of grabbing on or constricting around or tightening onto or kind of crimping, like you start feeling that sense that you're grabbing onto a thought or grabbing onto an action. And if you notice that you've started to do that, then just let go of it. It's very, very subtle. Just if you notice that you're grabbing onto something with intention, you just release that. That's it. Otherwise, just sit there. Our own awake awareness is already 100% completely present. Our own Buddha nature is already a Buddha nature. You can't make it better or improve it or stronger or brighter. You just express it via sitting. Sometimes our mind is all about association, so sometimes when we sit like this, it starts reminding us of napping, because your brain, you're not actively engaged in thinking about stuff. So one way this can go wrong is you start just getting real drowsy. That happens, just meditate with your eyes open and sit up straight. Just sitting there is just wasting time. Our natural openness is bright and clear. And then of course there's just the urge to sit and fantasize or plan something or whatever. Recite the list of your enemies, or whatever you're into. Remembering we're staying nice and still physically, and also just not engaging with any thoughts. Thoughts can be there, but we're just not engaging. urge also, especially if you're a meditator, to meditate, like put your mind on an object. But in this third phase here, there is no object. So don't put your mind in any way at all. As they sometimes say in various traditions, don't place the mind. So as we let go of intentionality, let go of engaging in thought, let go of even being the one who thinks they're doing anything at all. Our sense of being a separate thought, feeling, sock puppet dies down, simmers down, drains away, and the natural, easy, open, bright, clear, radiant, present awareness of our true nature, our Buddha nature, starts to shine a little bit clearer, a little bit brighter of its own accord. It's always there. And so, feeling that bright, clear, kind presence, let's let that emanate in sound as the seed syllable Hri again together. Again, not from the mind, not from the ego, not from thought, not from distraction, not from doership, not from intentionality, but simply just the opening of, natural opening of our awake awareness in sharing a sense of kindness, a sense of love, a sense of caring with the whole world through this sound. Very good. Thank you for joining me in that meditation. basically a three-part meditation sequence, stolen from Dujung Lingpa, by me, stolen, but then attributed, so that makes it okay. But it's a simple meditation sequence, starting out, again, from just resting in open awakeness, and then just lightly noticing breath, and then either later on in the same meditation sequence, or maybe later on, months later, after doing just breath for a long time, then you start watching thought activity, right? And then I added a little wrinkle in there, just a few minutes of check out to whom the thought is seems to be happening. Who's the thinker? It's a little just inquiry in there just for tonight. It's not really part of Dujung Lingpa's sequence there, but it fits. And then the third version is no object at all. There's no meditation object at all. You're so used to resting as natural awakeness that the stability comes from just resting as awakeness, right? So when we're doing an object, whenever we're meditating with an object, doesn't matter if it's your breath or a mantra or a visualization or any other meditation object you might encounter, the whole point is that you're trying to borrow stability. You're borrowing the stability of the object, or I should say, apparent stability. And so assuming that, let's say, your breath is a little more stable, a little more predictable, a little more calmed down than your mind, then, when we're meditating on our breath and keeping our attention on that, the mind starts to entrain and get a little slower, a little more, less chaotic and less active. So it's easier, we come into more stability. Or, for example, with something like a visualization. This is really, for many people kind of hard to do, but if you get to the place where you're doing visualization meditation, that can be quite a thing to come back to, right? It can have a certain kind of stability because it's appearing the same way over and over. And so again, your mind entrains into stability from that object. There's a lot of medieval European Christian meditations where it's like, stare at a pebble. That's the whole meditation, stare at a pebble. And just do that 16 hours a day until you're done doing it, which might be years, staring at a pebble. But that pebble isn't changing very much, right? It's very stable, it's very predictable, it's very reliable. And if you put your mind on it for a long, long time, your mind starts to slow way down and get more predictable and reliable and stable, right? So very often we are borrowing apparent stability. Of course, on a deep level, none of these things are really stable, but they're apparently more stable than your mind. So you're kind of focusing on these things to, slow things down and make it kind of come into a less chaotic place. But the thing is, you don't really need to do that. It helps. It does help. It's worth doing for most people, but it's not absolutely necessary. Why not? Because you're not your mind anyway. Right? All that thought activity and where the mind is pointing and all that, so what? Right? That whole setup of I'm over here, looking at a thing over there, and I'm trying to stabilize my mind, it's all part of the problem. On another level, it's the thing that we want to notice is that the awakeness is always stable. The awakeness is always already awake, clear, bright, and the most stable possible thing. And so stepping out of the whole game at the very end there and just saying, okay, it's not the thought stream I'm trying to make stable, and who's even trying to make anything stable anyway. I'm just going to find the total, unborn, uncreated, timeless, boundless stability that's always been there. And that is my actual being, that's my true nature, and just be that, since you can't really be anything else. That's meditation, right? That's the real stability. We're just very used to pretending to be the thought and feeling, I'll quit saying sock puppet, corn doll, we'll quit, or rag doll, right? Whatever that we think we are. And so we're so used to that these techniques of calming the mind and stabilizing the prana and all that we do with our chanting and our pranayama and all that, it really helps, because it just gives you more of an opportunity to notice what's really going on. Most of the time we are so caught up in the thoughts and feelings and pointing our attention at it so totally that there's just no hope of pointing out what's really aware of all that, what's behind all that, what's underneath all that. So the metaphor that comes to mind over and over again, so I'll just repeat it over and over again, is like when you're with let's say you're with all your friends and all this cool stuff is happening, but you're so busy looking at your phone, you just don't even notice it, because you're just on your phone. Oh, cool. Okay, and all the stuff that's happening out here, you just don't even, you're checked out. And so that's what our mind is like. You're just so busy with your thoughts and feelings that this infinity of awakeness and openness that never ever feels bad, we just aren't noticing it. But of course, that's what we really are, is that. And because it can do whatever it wants, it's free to focus on thoughts and feelings if it wants to. So there's such an interesting thing here where we kind of play the game. We have to play the game a little bit of, okay, we're going to put this in night mode, and we're going to reduce all the notifications, and we're going to only have one app on it, and now we're just going to pay attention to that app. So it gets so boring that you start to notice this. Oh, I thought I was this, but I'm nothing other than this. Right? So that's really a very reductive but pretty accurate way of describing how practice works, right? And so we just did just shamatha to do that. You can do it, Buddhist heresies aside, you can do it just through shamatha. And you do it like that. It's one way to do it anyway. Notice, sit wide open with the breathing, then sit wide open with the thought activity, then just sit wide open with no activity. There's a lot of other stuff we can throw in there too, various, even threw in a little extra stuff, right? Some inquiry you can throw in vipashyana, you can throw in massive deity yogas that take a day to do, and so on. But the main thing to notice is that the wide awake, wide open, clear, bright presence is always there, and that's what we really are. Okay? So that's what I have to say tonight. If you have something you want to say, I think Sam is the microphone holder of the evening. So 2 things, remember, this is being streamed live to the internet, and number 2, everyone just meditated, so be thoughtful with your speech.
I wanted to ask, why
Hi.
do people, sorry, my name is David, and
Hi,
I wanted
David.
to ask why people think they have free will.
You ask it. You want to ask people why they think they have free will? Okay. Good.
Sorry, I guess I guess that's not a question that should
That's
come.
okay.
That's
No,
fine.
no, I can talk about it, but you said you wanted to ask people, so I'm like,
Sorry, I wanted to ask the humanity system.
oh, okay. Why people think they have free will? Well, because they do, in one way of talking about it. I mean, I don't claim to know the truth of the universe, so bear with me while I just talk, not from necessarily knowing, but I would say that as a thought and feeling system, you probably have almost no free will, right? The thoughts and feelings are just happening and so on. But as wide awake, wide open awareness, you're nothing other than the entire universe. And so on that level, you have nothing but free will.
I mean, it just feels like I react to my environment and my experiences combined. So I just wonder, like, where's the aspect of free will that people experience?
You mean as a thought and feeling human, right? As an individual with taking action in the world.
I don't see myself as an individual.
Okay. Very good. So again, it's at least an open question whether that sort of free will is there at all. And it's a funny formulation. You don't find this exact question, and it's really a Christian question. It has to do with how theology works. You know.
How's it Christian? I follow Vedanta.
Good, yeah. Well, that's a longer discussion, but all I'll say is that it's the West that is obsessed with the idea of free will or not. Okay, and in most traditions, and certainly when we do this kind of work, you notice that. For example, we watch thought activity tonight. It's just kind of happening. Right? It's just kind of happening, and same thing with emotional stuff. So yeah, it's just kind of happening. Our sense of being the doer there is, I think, very overinflated. Thank you, David. Other reports or comments or intense critiques, public shaming, whatever.
Hi, I'm Becca.
Hi, Becca.
This is kind of maybe a newbie question.
Great.
So I've reached the point, I spent basically the whole sit in the breath in the background.
Great.
Portion of that.
Wonderful. That's good.
And I've pretty consistently recently reached a point where in every sit at least one time, the mental chaos sort of dies away and the sensory landscape really changes for a moment
Sure.
and feels a lot more calm and almost like expanding and contracting a little bit.
Uh-huh.
But every time I reach that moment, my mind gets so excited that something changed.
Yes.
That I instantly come back to the chaos.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if there's something different I could be doing in that moment or not doing, or whether just encountering it enough times it will stop being so exciting.
If you do it enough, it stops being so exciting.
Great.
Yeah. So you just do it a lot, and eventually you're like, oh, it died down for a minute, like it always does. Okay. You still like it, but that sort of just naturally gets a little more relaxed, and then because it's relaxed, it stays died down longer, and then you'll get excited again. It's staying died down a long time. Oh, shoot. Now you're excited again. But over time, you just wear it out. Okay, and then you'll start noticing. But also, it's not the case that we necessarily want all thoughts to stop or something. Like I keep saying in the meditation, it's fine if there's thinking. It's just, are you all involved in it or not? Is really much more important question. Okay?
Thanks.
Thanks, Becca. Other stuff coming up that people want to share or say or ask? Oh, we got another one over there, Sam.
This is kind of a similar question, but I find that the exact moment of like letting go of a thought to be more difficult than I anticipated, and I'm just wondering, like, the actual act of letting go, like, is there a technique or like a visualization, like how?
No, because the more you do with it, the worse it is. So here's the technique. Everyone's welcome to do this. Raise your hand, make a fist like this, and then squeeze. Okay, that's grabbing onto a thought. So relax it. Now do it again, grab onto a thought. Okay, then just stop grabbing on. Feel how that's different? That's all. Okay? Just, it's not that you're pulling your fingers off or somehow, doing it. It's just, for a thought to be relevant, you have to actually on purpose be giving it intentional attention. And so that's grabbing on. And so you're just used to doing it, so it feels like you're not doing anything, but it's actually a big to hold on to a thought. And so you just get used to going, So it's not really a technique. It's more of a not doing anything with it. Okay? Yeah. We are very trained to pay a lot of attention to thinking, and so it feels really natural, but it takes a lot of effort actually. So over time you start to get attuned to that effort and just not make it anymore. I mean, if you catch yourself making it, it's like as hard, you notice you're doing this and you just go, oh, just stop making a fist. Okay. And then instead of grabbing onto the thought, it just wiggles out of your hand. Okay? Thanks.
Hey, Michael.
Hi.
So you mentioned how we have like an association between relaxing and sleeping, and then like it's important to work around that association. So sometimes I've worked around it a little bit, and then it's hard to fall asleep.
Yep.
And I was wondering, and I've heard, oh, maybe you shouldn't meditate right before bed, or maybe you shouldn't do certain types of meditation right before bed. Is there a type of intentional thing that I can do with my mind to help me fall asleep?
Sure.
If my mind is like fairly concentrated from practice that day or something?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff you can do. So yoga of sleep, right? And so it just basically guided, you're using your mind to relax your whole body super deeply. It's typical yoga nidra. Step by step by step, every little molecule of your body over and over again. And it at least gets your body so relaxed that your mind has a hard time staying tight. Okay? And we'll start to relax and go to sleep. Another thing you can do that is, I find super effective, but your mileage may vary, and that is if you're used to meditating on mental imagery, and you have enough skill to do it really badly, right? You know how to do it well, but you also know how to do it really relaxed and sloppily. Then just start watching mental images in a really lazy way, and it takes you very quickly into hypnagogia and then into sleep. So I find that so effective that you can go to sleep literally immediately. Because it will just pull you into hypnagogic imagery and into sleep. But it takes a certain ability to work with the mental imagery, right? So those are at least two ways. There's others, but the main thing is to let go of control. The way that you're using your mind to control, to keep it tight, to keep it focused, the controller is the thing that needs to let go to sleep. It's also the pretend thing that needs to let go to notice the awakeness of your own awake awareness. So it's good to learn to let that thing relax. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, Michael.
Hi.
When doing things like noting practice, I found that it's extremely helpful to use like approximately the right label to note certain things. Almost like using the right label makes it easier to let go of it.
Okay.
Can you comment on why this is? It's like calling the true name seems to give you some sort of power over whatever phenomenon is occurring.
Yeah, I like Werner Vinge too, but that's not really why it works. I think I've seen enough noting work when it's just even that you can just use the note, that I'm not sure I agree with your thesis, right? I think instead maybe that's a personal effect. Sometimes having good noting is important in order to you're trying to really distinguish, let's say, 4 different things in a field, and so having them properly distinguished is helpful in that way. But I don't feel like there's a call it by its true name kind of thing going on. I think it's more just whatever lets your mind relax is the right one. Here, the kind of shamatha we're doing, we're not noting at all, right? But I've certainly done lots and lots and lots of years of noting, and of course it can be a super powerful practice. So if it works that way for you, that finding the correct label is exactly right, then great. But I'm not sure it works that way for everyone.
Okay, thanks. I think that definitely makes sense as a personal thing for me.
Good. I think we have one last thing over here.
I like your little dance. Hi, Michael.
Hi.
So I've been practicing letting go, and I feel like I'm at a pretty good place to let go of things and not hold on to things. But then that created a situation sort of that like my energy is just like naturally flowing to all over the places.
Sure.
And coming back to like setting boundaries or make decisions, feel like, oh, I'm starting to like hold on to some things again, like I don't, I shouldn't do this, I want to do this, and so and so. So I wonder what's your thought onto it, on it.
Yeah, there's an in-between place, right? And that's the uncomfortable place to be. So at first we think we're making all the decisions and you know, setting the boundaries and all that. And that's in its own way incredibly uncomfortable, but at least we understand it. I'm deciding and I'm setting boundaries. On the other side of it, all the way on the other side of it, there's a recognition that that's all just happening by itself. No one's doing it. Boundaries are still there in a certain way, but you know, it's all relative world stuff that's just arising. And the real, you know, being that we are is boundless and timeless and isn't separate from another person. So how are you going to say, you know, all that. In between, it's like, gets a little queasy in there. So I would just recommend going nice and slowly and carefully, and you know, as long as the relative world stuff is making sense, making, you know, good common sense relative world decisions, you know, because eventually it's not like you'll just necessarily, I don't know, you know, run out into the street and give everyone all your money or something anyway, right? There's still intelligence happening, but it's coming from a very different place. And so all we're doing is ceasing to pretend that the intelligence is coming from the mind and noticing where it's really coming from. And there's kind of a, I would call it maybe like a cartoonish idea that somehow that we're worried that that will be less intelligent. But it turns out to be much, much more intelligent. But so over time, you're just going to start noticing that, especially doing the kind of meditation we're doing, you'll start to notice that where you used to fill in the blank by saying, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, you recognize it was just doing itself. It was already happening. Good boundaries were being set. Good decisions were being made. And just like a bad coworker or whatever, the ego was taking credit for all of it, right? So there's just a really interesting in-between place where you're not sure who's really doing it, but I would say don't push it, don't force that, because that's where we start making weird, bad decisions. Does that help at all?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, good. All right. That ends the Michael demonstrates his ignorance part of our program, and leading us into the silent, he finally shuts up part of our program. So let's sit together silently for another 75 minutes. Okay. Thanks again, everybody. Just a reminder, it really helps us if you put back the cushions over there against the wall. And also, another reminder, you're invited to just hang out in the foyer, have some tea, have some snacks if any are available, and talk with other human beings in real life. See you here next week.